The alarm blared through the ship like a scream trapped in steel walls. Red lights flashed in rhythm with the captain's racing heart. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The Krellan dreadship Zervox, a name feared across 3 galaxies, was not supposed to encounter resistance. It had crushed moons, melted cities, and silenced entire civilizations without losing a single drone. But this time, above the blue planet called Earth, something felt different. Commander Viruza narrowed her glowing eyes as she watched the screen. A strange ship had just torn through their perimeter in a suicide run. Instead of fleeing, it had entered their hangar, alone, no backup, one life form on board. A human, is he mad? Whispered one of the alien officers. Or is this a trap? Viruza said nothing. Her long claws tapped the metal table. She had seen terror before. She had created it. But something about this human's calm walk through the burning hangar made her freeze. He walked like the fire didn't exist. Like he had come to die or win. The humans were supposed to be weak. Their planet was rich in chaos, not in unity. Yet this one had brought a bomb, not to destroy their ship, but something worse. To take control of their weapon, their core. The planet-destroying star bomb at the heart of the Zervox. Is he trying to deactivate it? An officer asked. He won't succeed. It needs a pure neural link. Only Krellan minds can access it. But Viruza already knew. This human wasn't guessing. He was scanning, reading, moving through their systems. Like he'd done it before. Her eyes widened as a lock on the core flickered green for 1 second too long. Open fire, she shouted. Seal off the core chamber. But it was too late. The cameras inside the chamber show him standing in front of the glowing sphere. Its energy pulsing like a living heart. His hand hovered over it, and a small device blinked red on his wrist. A translator? A neural key? No one knew. Silence filled the control room. Viruza could feel it. The others were waiting for her to scream, to kill someone, to panic. But she didn't. She was watching this human, studying him, the way he moved, the way he stared at the bomb, the way he wasn't afraid. Get me his species record, she said. Everything, every war file, every record of Earth, every name tied to sabotage missions. The computer spat out broken files. Earth's history was hard to collect. Too many wars, too much infighting, too much chaos. But one name came up again and again. A ghost, a soldier, a codebreaker, a traitor to his own kind. Some said he had died years ago. Some said he never existed. The name was Cal Reeve, and there he was, in their ship, facing a bomb built to destroy planets with the flick of a claw. And now he was trying to disarm it. Why would he do that? Whispered the same officer. If he fails, the explosion will vaporize this sector. His planet too. His people. Everything. Maybe, Viruza said softly. He's not trying to save Earth. Maybe he's trying to save someone else. They all turned to her, confused. She didn't explain. Not yet. Her mind was racing. Why would a human risk everything to disarm a bomb not pointed at his home? Why would someone break into a dreadship instead of sending a fleet? Why would he walk straight into death alone? Because that's what humans did. Over and over. In every file she found, it was the same. When diplomacy failed, they fought. When war crushed them, they rose. When they lost everything, they risked the last thing they had themselves. And now, one of them stood in front of their most powerful weapon. And wasn't running. The chamber door opened slowly. The gas shield activated, sealing off the core. From outside interference, Viruza leaned closer to the screen. The bomb was reacting. Flickers of unstable energy lit the air like fire. One wrong touch would trigger detonation. But Cal didn't flinch. His fingers moved like a code breaker. Like an artist painting his final masterpiece. Each tap was measured. Each movement deliberate. And then for a moment, the light in the chamber dimmed. The bomb's pulse slowed. Something was changing. He was getting through. Outside the chamber, hundreds of Krellan warriors waited in silence, their guns aimed, their armor locked. But none dared to fire. Not yet. Virza hadn't given the order. She couldn't. Not while something inside her whispered one word. Hope. Asterisk. The Krellan dreadship vibrated with silent tension as the bomb's pulse continued to slow. Every officer watching the screen leaned forward, waiting to see what the human would do next. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the air felt afraid. Cal Reeve stood like a shadow against the burning red light. His eyes were locked on the shifting core. The bomb wasn't just energy, it was alive. The Krellan had built it using artificial organics, and it responded like a living creature. It recognized touch. It could feel fear. Virza's claws twitched. Slightly. Her soldiers wanted orders. Her officers wanted answers, but she couldn't give them anything yet. She was trying to understand him. Not just what he was doing, but why he had come alone. The human didn't blink as bright lines of light flickered across the core. His wrist device blinked blue now, feeding him information from their own systems. He had connected to the Krellan mind interface. Somehow, impossibly, he was inside their weapon's thinking brain. No human has ever done this, one of the engineers whispered. Our systems were designed to reject their neural patterns, but Cal wasn't following patterns. He was rewriting them, slowly, carefully. The outer shield of the core stopped pulsing. It grew quiet. A soft hum replaced the violent energy sound. It was listening to him now. Virza stepped closer to the console. She zoomed in on the human's face. No panic, no hesitation. His hands moved like he had practiced this 1,000 times before. Like this wasn't suicide. Like it was destiny. Tell me everything about the Earth Sabotage Unit, she said. Focus on Black Ops, neural warfare, psychological resistance units. The data streamed across the screen. Some of it was corrupted. Some of it was labeled myth, but one name kept flashing in red. Cal Reeve, classified, hunted by his own kind. Escaped from a war prison 2 years ago. Disappeared near Titan's orbit. Presumed dead. And yet, here he was, standing in their core chamber, communicating with a planet-destroying bomb like it was a friend. He's not just disarming it, Virza said. He's talking to it. The officers stared at her in disbelief. But she was right. The bomb's patterns were shifting. It no longer pulsed with aggression. Its energy lines followed the rhythm of his voice. Not in words, but in something deeper. Vibration. Intention. Meaning. He was calming it. Gas hissed from the side vents. The chamber began to seal. The bomb's final protection layer was unlocking. One mistake, one wrong signal, and it would vaporize everything within 3,000 kilometers. The risk was unimaginable, but Cal didn't stop. He stepped closer, almost touching the core. The red glow reflected off his face like fire, and in that glow, Virza saw something unexpected. A scar near his temple, an old surgical mark. Modified. Brain pathways. Someone had changed him. Genetic hacking, the science officer muttered. He's not just human anymore. The realization hit Virza hard. The humans had always been dangerous. Their madness, their courage, their unpredictability. But this one was something else. Someone had made him into a weapon that could walk into the enemy's heart and make it listen. And now that weapon was inside her ship. Outside the chamber, a single Krellan warrior stepped forward. His armor glowed with red warning lights. He raised his plasma rifle and looked to the viewing deck, waiting for the command to fire. No, Virza said. Not yet. The warrior hesitated, then stepped back. The officers looked at each other, unsure. But Virza knew what she was doing. Shooting now would end it. The bomb would go off. Their ship would be destroyed. But more than that, this human would become a legend. and Virza wasn't ready to let that happen. Inside the chamber, Cal touched the final panel. A flash of blue light swallowed him for half a second. Everyone flinched. The monitors glitched. The core turned silent. For 5 long seconds, no one breathed. Then the bomb shut down. No explosion, no warning, no last-second trigger. Just silence. And a slow, low sound like the sigh of a god falling asleep. He had done it. The room burst into chaos. Officers screamed. Systems lit up. Drones reactivated. Alarms howled in every direction. But Virza stood still, her eyes locked on the human who now sat on the floor beside the sleeping bomb. He had shut it down without firing a shot, without killing a single soldier, without even raising his voice, and now every Krellin on that ship was staring at the same screen, asking the same question: who was this human? The silence after the shutdown was worse than the sound of war. For a full minute, not a single alien on the dreadship moved. The lights above flickered as the ship tried to decide whether it was still alive. Cal Reeve didn't look victorious. He looked tired. His body slumped beside the deactivated bomb. His breathing was slow, his face pale. The neural link had drained him. The bomb hadn't fought back, but it hadn't made it easy either. Virza watched from behind the safety screen. This human had just done what no living being had ever done. He talked down a weapon made to wipe out worlds. And now he sat alone in the middle of the beast's heart, surrounded by enemies, and didn't even seem to care. "Is it really disarmed?" the weapons officer asked. "Or is it just asleep?" Virza didn't answer. She ordered a scan. The readings came back cold. The bomb wasn't charging. Its inner systems were offline, not dormant, not armed. Silent, she stepped back and turned toward her command staff. Half of them were still waiting for orders to execute the intruder. The other half were looking at the screen with something strange in their eyes. Something like respect. "Bring him." "To me," Virza ordered. Unharmed, the officers looked shocked. Some even hissed. "He's a terrorist," one growled. "He invaded our ship. He violated our systems. He touched the sacred core. He saved your life," she replied. Without raising her voice, 2 armored soldiers made their way to the chamber. Cal didn't resist. He stood slowly, his hands raised but steady. His face showed no fear. He moved like he had been here before. Like he had walked into enemy ships and walked out alive. They brought him to the throne chamber. A circular room, filled with ancient redstone and modern metal. A place where warlords passed judgment and gave orders that shaped centuries. Cal Reeve stood at the center like a man in the middle of a storm. Virza rose from her seat. Her armor clicked with each step as she descended toward him. Her glowing eyes searched his face. She didn't see panic. She didn't see arrogance. She saw something far more dangerous: purpose. "Why did you come here?" she asked. "To stop the bomb," Cal said calmly. "You could have sent a warning, a message, a threat. You didn't need to step aboard. I didn't come to threaten. I came to make sure." "And you're sure?" she asked. "Yes," he replied. Virza studied him again. "You're not what I expected. Humans usually come with armies, with pride, with chaos. You came with silence and knowledge." "Because noise doesn't save people," Cal answered. "Actions do." The room stayed quiet. Some of the officers began to whisper among themselves. Others stared at him like they didn't know whether to kill him or protect him. Virza raised her hand and the room went silent again. "You are alone. You stand in the heart of the Krellin dreadship. You just disabled our most powerful weapon, and you expect to walk away?" "No," Cal replied. "I don't." She tilted her head. "Then why do this?" "Because someone had to," he said. Honesty hit her like a pulse wave. He didn't come for fame. He didn't come for a reward. He came because he believed it was right. And somehow that made him more dangerous than any weapon she had ever seen. "What do you want now?" she asked. "Nothing," Cal said. "Just let me sit down." A long pause followed. Then, Varza stepped aside and motioned to a bench along the wall. Cal walked to it, sat down and closed his eyes. Not because he was weak, because he had done what he came for. And now he could rest. The officers around her still looked unsure. Some still wanted blood. Some wanted answers. But one thing was certain now: this was no ordinary human. This was someone trained to break war from the inside. And for the first time in Krellin history, the war had paused because of one human with no army, no fleet, and no orders, just a mission. Cal Reeves sat on the bench with his eyes closed. His chest rose and fell in slow rhythm. The lights above him hummed softly, casting shifting colors across the chamber walls. Around him, the Krellin officers remained frozen, still unsure of what to do next. Varza stood at the edge of the platform, arms folded behind her back. Her tail flicked once, a sign of deep thought. She had never met a human in person before today. Everything she had learned came from war reports, enemy logs, and battlefield screams. But this one was different. He didn't match the stories. No rage, no panic, no loud words or wild actions. He came with knowledge, not fire. And with each passing minute, Varza found herself more curious than cautious. "Scan him again," she ordered. Full body. Full neural mapping. The science. Officer hesitated, then nodded and sent the signal. A soft pulse traveled through Cal's body. He didn't react. The results came in seconds later. Modified neural paths. Artificial memory locks. Foreign encryption surrounding his brainstem. "He's been altered," the officer whispered. "But not by humans. These codes match older Terran research, yes, but they're mixed with patterns we've only seen in the outer void colonies." Varza narrowed her glowing eyes. Someone had enhanced him using both human and alien technology. But why would anyone do that to a single man? Unless he wasn't just a man. Unless he was the weapon. The room darkened slightly as external shields shifted into maintenance mode. Outside, Earth still hovered in the distance, its surface peaceful. Unaware that death had almost reached its sky hours ago, Cal opened one eye and looked around slowly. He wasn't afraid. Not even surrounded by alien commanders and guards. He knew they wouldn't shoot. Not yet, not after what he had done. Not while their most powerful weapon still sat silent because of him. "You could destroy us," one of the younger officers said. "You knew the code. You touched the core. You made it listen." "I didn't destroy you," Cal said. "That's the difference between humans and monsters." The officer stepped back, ashamed. Varza held up a hand to keep the others silent. This human hadn't come to talk. He had come to change something. Not just the bomb, not just the war, but the way. They saw his kind. "What if we had fired before you reached the core?" she asked. "Then I wouldn't be here," Cal answered. "And Earth?" "Still safe," he said. "But not forever." That reply made her pause. The way he said it. Cold. Sure. Like he knew something they didn't. Like Earth had a plan of its own. "What is Earth building?" she asked. He didn't smile. He didn't blink. He just replied with 3 words. "You don't know." The room buzzed with nervous energy. Officers whispered again. What did Earth hide? What kind of man talks to a planet-killing bomb and speaks like the stars owe him answers? Varza's heartbeat sped up for the first time in years. "Tell me what you are," she demanded. "I'm what you fear," he said quietly. And somehow that answer felt true. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He wasn't a spy. He was something designed to walk into fire and come out alive. He was living proof that humans didn't need fleets to change the galaxy. Just time, Varza dismissed the others and stepped closer. Alone now with the human, she asked one final question. "Are there more like you?" Cal looked up, eyes sharp. "Yes." The chamber lights dimmed as the Krullan guards returned to their posts. Their weapons were still armed, but their aim was relaxed. No one wanted to make the first mistake. Not after what they had seen Cal Reeve do with his bare hands and his mind. Varza remained still. She didn't blink. Her breathing was calm, but her thoughts ran fast. She was processing every word, every action, every strange signal this human gave off. He was more than a threat. He was a question. What kind of mind did it take to enter a hostile ship, approach a living bomb, and silence it without violence? What kind of being walked alone into death and convinced it to wait? She had ruled this ship for 20 cycles. She had ended wars with a single order. But now, for the first time, she questioned whether she truly understood her enemies. Cal Reeve stood up slowly. He didn't reach for a weapon. He didn't raise his voice. He simply looked at her and waited. The patience in his posture was terrifying. It wasn't the stillness of fear. It was the stillness of control. You want to know if Earth is building more weapons, he said. You're asking the wrong question. Varza didn't respond. She waited. She let the silence speak first. Cal turned and looked at the glowing projection of Earth above them. His eyes didn't show pride or love. They showed memory. As if he had left something behind. Earth isn't just building weapons, he said. It's building humans like me. Her claws curled slightly. She had expected that. But hearing it made it real. She had feared Earth's fleets, Earth's bombs, Earth's machines. She had never once considered that the most dangerous weapon might look exactly like a man. How many? She asked. Enough, he answered. There was no need for numbers. She could see the truth in his voice. He wasn't lying to scare her. He wasn't trying to bluff. He was warning her, calmly, clearly, like someone who didn't care whether she believed him or not. You could have destroyed our bomb and escaped, she said. Why did you stay? Because staying is the real strike, he replied. That sentence echoed across the chamber. Officers paused in their steps. Even the drone above the gate stopped moving. It wasn't just what he said. It was how he said it. Like Earth had already decided what came next, and this was only the beginning. Varza took a step closer. Then what now? Cal met her gaze. Now you choose. You can rebuild the bomb. Or you can learn something before it's too late. She tilted her head. And what will you do? I'll watch, he said. And I'll wait. The tension in the room was strange. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. Every Krullan could feel it. This man wasn't guessing. He wasn't pretending. He was exactly what Earth wanted them to see. A message. Varza turned toward the command deck. Send word to the council. Tell them what happened. Every detail. Every scan. Every word. The officers nodded quickly and left. Only Cal and Varza remained. The silence grew heavier between them, like gravity pulling from both sides. She wanted to ask more, but part of her feared the answers. Cal took one step back, then another. He walked to the edge of the platform and looked down at the ship's heart. The bomb chamber was quiet now, cold, but its memory remained. It had tasted his mind and chosen not to explode. That wasn't luck. Varza knew what this meant. If one human could do this, others could too. Earth wasn't coming with force. It was coming with whispers, with minds like blades, with people who could break a war from the inside. And for the first time, she didn't want to fight. She wanted to understand. Asterisk. The corridor lights shifted to a softer hue as Cal Reeve was escorted to a guest chamber. Not a prison, not a cage. Just a room with a sealed door and no windows. It was a message. He was not a prisoner, but he was not free either. Two guards stood outside without speaking. Their eyes avoided his. Their weapons rested on their backs. They didn't fear him. They feared what he meant. Inside, Cal sat cross-legged on the floor. He had nothing but his worn clothes and the silent hum of the ship to keep him company. That was enough. He wasn't here to run. He had already done what he came for. In the command chamber, Varza watched the playback again, every frame, every twitch of his hand, every signal his brain had given off. Her scientists tried to decode the data, but they didn't understand. What they were looking at, the bomb hadn't been hacked. It had been convinced. That detail disturbed her more than anything else. It meant the bomb had some form of sentience. It meant it had made a choice. And it chose not to explode when faced with a human mind. Varza turned away from the screen and faced her second in command. Has the council replied? They demand an explanation. They don't believe the weapon was neutralized by thought. Alone, the officer said. They wouldn't, Varza replied. She paced the floor in silence. The ship was still fully functional. The bomb was offline, but everything else remained armed. Yet nothing felt stable anymore. A single man had shaken their balance. What do you want to do with him? The officer asked. I want to listen, Varza answered. She dismissed the guard and entered the guest chamber. Cal didn't rise when she stepped in. He simply looked at her and waited. There was no tension. Only quiet understanding between two leaders who had both survived too much. You're calm, she said. I didn't come here to panic, he replied. Varza leaned against the wall. You changed the core's rhythm. You altered the living energy of a weapon designed to kill planets. No machine I've seen can do what you did. I didn't use a machine, Cal said. Then how? I listened to it, he replied. Varza fell silent. She expected complex explanations, human tricks, some kind of hidden technology, but he spoke of listening. As if the bomb had a soul, and he had simply heard its cry. You think the weapon wanted to stop? She asked. I think. It was waiting for someone to ask, he said. She couldn't decide if that was genius or madness. Maybe it was both. Maybe that was what made humans so dangerous. They saw life in places others saw only death. You said there are more like you, Varza said. Is Earth planning a war? No, Cal said. Earth is preparing for one. That made her breath catch. He wasn't threatening her. He was warning her again. But this time, it didn't sound like fear. It sounded like history repeating itself. We tried peace, he added. We tried talks. But no one listens until something breaks. Varza's mind raced. Earth had survived wars before. It had lost millions, burned cities, rebuilt again. And again. But if they were now sending people like Cal to enemy ships, they weren't playing defense anymore. They were learning. She stepped forward. What happens if we never fire the bomb again? Then you win, he said. That answer confused her. We win by not using our strongest weapon. You win by surviving, Cal said. The ones who live, not the ones who destroy, shape. The next age. Varza didn't respond. She stared at him, seeing not a warrior, but a mirror. Someone who had chosen to fight in a different way. Someone who had stepped into the fire and taught the flames to cool. He had not come to kill her ship. He had come to show them another way. Varza stood alone in the observatory chamber. Before her, the stars stretched across the void like scattered fire. Her ship floated silent in their light, its deadly core now a quiet monument to a failed plan. She had led conquests that made empires. Kneel. She had ordered the destruction of moons, erased civilizations from memory, and never once questioned why. But now, the silence of that human weighed more than 1,000 screams. Cal Reeve had not made threats. He had not begged or demanded. He had shown them what was possible with patience, purpose, and presence. That was why the fear still lingered. Even though he hadn't raised a weapon, the Council's message had arrived an hour ago, cold, political, and filled with insult. They claimed Varza had been tricked, that the human had used mind technology to seduce the weapon, that her hesitation was weakness. She didn't respond to them yet. Instead, she asked herself one question over and over. Why would a man risk his life for a chance to stop something? Not with violence, but with words. There was no medal waiting. For him, no monument. Just risk. And still he had done it. She returned to the guest chamber. Cal sat in the same place, eyes open now, watching the door before it even opened. He always seemed to know what was coming, as if he read the air better than most read data. The council believes I've gone soft, she said. They would, Cal replied. They say I should have killed you the moment you reached the chamber. You still can, he said. Vyza stared at him, unsure if it was a challenge or permission. But he didn't look like a man preparing to die. He looked like someone who had already made peace with whatever came next. You've done your mission. Why stay? She asked. Cal took a deep breath. Because it's not over, she frowned. The bomb is silent. We've stood down. The attack is stopped. That wasn't the danger, Cal said. Then what was? Belief, he answered. The word echoed in her ears longer than expected. Belief, not metal. Not fuel, not programming. It wasn't the bomb that had made her ship powerful. It was the shared belief in its use. That belief had spread like infection across the Krullan, and now, it was breaking. You came to destroy an idea, she said slowly. Yes, Cal replied. Vyza walked across the room and stood before him. No guards, no weapons. Just two living beings in silence. The war wasn't on the battlefield. It was in the mind. And Cal had come to win that war one conversation at a time. You said Earth is preparing for war, she said. But you also said peace was tried first. What makes you think this time will be different? Because I'm not the only one doing this, he said. There are others, on other ships, on other planets. Inside your alliances, we're not here to destroy. We're here to whisper before the shouting starts. Vyza's heart beat faster. She had expected spies. She had prepared for attacks. But not this. Not quiet infiltration through empathy, patience, and courage. And if we ignore the whisper? She asked. Then you'll hear the roar next, Cal replied. Vyza stepped back and nodded once. He was not bluffing. She could see that now. She could feel it. Humans weren't just evolving their weapons. They were evolving their will, their minds, their methods, and the galaxy wasn't ready. The Krullan dreadship drifted silently above Earth, no longer a symbol of terror but a shadow with questions. The weapon inside it, once alive with destruction, now rested like an ancient heart that no longer wished to beat. Vyza had not spoken to the council again. She had left their last message unread. There was no use replying to minds that feared change more than war. She understood now why the human had not come with weapons. He had come to break something far more permanent, ideas, in her private chamber. Vyza replayed her final conversation with Cal Reeve. Every word had carried weight. Every pause had meant something. The man had not spoken to save himself. He had spoken to shift the ground beneath centuries of belief. She had seen fear take many forms, explosions, death, rebellion, but never had she seen fear come in the form of stillness. Cal Reeve had not threatened her. He had simply shown her what was already broken, and dared her to keep ignoring it. Cal stood now in the center of the dreadship's landing bay. A shuttle waited behind him. Its engines were quiet, its hatch open. The guards around him held no weapons. Not because he had disarmed them, but because they had lowered them on their own. Vyza approached without her armor. She wore only a black officer's cloak and the weight of a decision she couldn't undo. Cal turned toward her, his face calm, his body still marked by exhaustion and resolve. You're going back? She asked. Yes, he replied. Will you report what happened here? I'll tell them the truth, he said. That we didn't kill you? That you listened, Cal answered. Vyza nodded once. The silence between them was not uncomfortable. It was filled with understanding, like the quiet between storms. They were no longer enemies. Not fully. Not anymore. If you had died today, would your people have come for revenge? She asked. No, Cal said. They would have come for answers. That reply made her chest tighten. It was the kind of answer that didn't need blood to carry meaning. The kind that made her question everything she had once considered strength. What do you want us to do now? She asked. Nothing, he said. Just think. It sounded simple. It wasn't. She knew what he meant. Don't fire. Don't invade. Don't build the next bomb before understanding the old one. The true war was not with Earth. It was with the old belief that power only came from fear. Cal stepped into the shuttle. The door didn't close right away. He paused in the doorway and looked back at her. His expression didn't change. He didn't smile. He didn't threaten. He just looked at her like he already knew what choice she would make. And then the door sealed. The shuttle lifted off with a quiet hum and vanished into the black. No alarms, no chase, no warning shots. Verza stood in silence as the others watched her. They didn't ask questions. They waited. She turned to her command staff. Deactivate the bomb permanently. Dismantle the chamber. I want no trace of it left in this ship. The officers were stunned. Some whispered. Others frowned. But none disobeyed. They had seen the truth too. The old weapon no longer held the same meaning. It had been defeated by a human who never even raised his voice. As the dread ship began to move away from Earth, Verza looked back one last time. The planet below was bright, chaotic, and unpredictable. But it had sent a single man who changed the direction of a war without firing a single shot. She wondered how many more were already out there, in hidden ships, in enemy stations, in rooms like this one, waiting.